to these two strategies. Red built a solid economy first and an army second. Blue built an army first and now is bringing up his economy. And it's really, we're going to see that Red's strategy is far superior. The other thing you'll notice is this proxy pylon, actually two, I don't know why I felt the need to build a second one, but sure, why not? This proxy pylon here, unscouted, if we look at Robb's point of view, he doesn't even know it's there. And it's really going to cost him in the long run. He does have enough Zerglings here that he can start doing stuff with them. And I believe, yeah, he's going to lure these Zealots in. They're going to see these Spine Crawlers. Here's another mistake. He took his group of Zerglings and he attacked ground. And the result is that these Zerglings are only hitting this last Zealot and then falling behind. If instead he takes these Zerglings, tells them to move, not attack, to over here, past the Zealots, it'll string them out around the Zealots, and then he can attack ground, and they'll get a nice surround on these Zealots. So, just a little micro thing you can do better. These Zealots will turn around, right, and he'll get the 2 kills. But you notice Zealots just destroy Zerglings. And meanwhile, the real push is coming in right here. So, if we look at the income, we notice Blue still behind on Harvesters, still behind. His army, not very big. This is actually a decently strong army, especially when you consider these 4 sentries are just so strong against Zerglings. That force field is going to make such a big difference. And they're actually going to attack right down in here into these Spine Crawlers. So Robb is going to do something smart here. He's going to tell these Zerglings to attack this sentry here. And considering how effective sentries are against Zerglings, this is a really good idea. Unfortunately, he's only going to tell them to attack this particular sentry. If instead he moved his Zerglings down to here, or maybe tell him move over here somewhere, all these Zerglings would string out around the sentries, he'd get a nice surround, and then he could attack ground. Instead, they're just going to kill off this first sentry and kind of get caught by some force fields. We'll see in a second. So here they are, kill this first sentry, and there they are getting caught by force fields. And these 3 Zerglings split off, have to deal with the much stronger Zealots, who are great against Zerglings, whereas he's only got this more limited number in here to deal with these remaining 2 sentries. If he had spread them out here, they'd have a nice surround, they wouldn't really get pushed around by these force fields, and he'd have destroyed these sentries much faster. So, another thing he does is he now sends, after killing the sentries, all these Zerglings to attack Zealots. Zealots are actually a pretty beefy unit. 150 hit points worth of shields and whatever. 1 armor, do 16 damage to Zerglings. Stalkers, by comparison, have 160 hit points, 1 armor, and do 10 damage to Zerglings. A lot less damage. But here's the really key thing. If the Zerglings are attacking the Zealots, the Stalkers and the Zealots can attack the Zerglings. If the Zerglings are attacking the Stalkers, the Zealots have to walk all this way over to the Zerglings to be able to attack them. And this is really key, because this difference right here is increasing the effectiveness of these Zerglings significantly. And sending them instead to attack these Zealots is actually a really bad idea. Also, this Queen has a nice range 3. She could be down here transfusing this Spine Crawler. You can, in fact, transfuse buildings. 125 hit points on a Spine Crawler make a huge difference right here. Bring them up to almost 200. Also doing damage to these Zealots. She does some rather nice DPS. It's 8 damage a hit at a fairly good speed. I think she attacks, faster than Zealots, but less damage. Really would like to see this Queen get into play, transfusing a little. Really would like to see these Zerglings appear on these Stalkers. Something else you'll notice, this Spine Crawler right here does an extra 5 damage to Armored, which the Stalkers are, and the Zealots aren't. I really would like to see this Spine Crawler attacking these Stalkers. Stalkers, by the way, range of 6, Spine Crawler, range of 7, so it can definitely reach them. No reason they should be attacking these Zealots. Really should be taking out these Stalkers right here. And you'll see, as soon as that Spine Crawler goes down, these Zerglings get murdered. This Queen, last thing she does is she infuses. I don't really like that. Doing another Spartan over here isn't really doing you a lot of good. If, by comparison, he had done a transfuse, he could have kept something alive longer. Much better use of the energy. You notice something else. Robb's harvester count has gone up. And the thing is, he's been building drones back at his main. This doesn't actually make a lot of sense. Earlier, when he wasn't dealing with an attack, he was building his army. And now that he's being attacked, he's building a bunch of drones. And that's the opposite of what you want. When you're not being attacked, you don't really need an army. So it's just wasted resources if you're not using it. So really, building drones would have been a good idea. Now that he's being attacked, instead of getting a whole bunch more harvesters, it would be nice to get more zerglings. I think the real reason he's doing this is because he's now feeling that economic pinch. He just doesn't have the resources to turn out a big army. And he's realizing that, and only now realizing that he needs more drones. There's another also Miss Micro thing. These zerglings are microed down to here, or rallied down to here, which sends these two zerglings against these two stalkers. No way in hell those two zerglings are going to win. Much better idea is to rally them up to here, and we'll see Robb realizes this in a second, and the remainder of his zerglings do get rallied appropriately. Yeah, and see, there he is. He re-rallies them. Not 100% on this spine crawler. Would like to see it over here, somewhere more aggressive, where it could be more useful. This one makes sense because it's using the spawning pool as kind of a shield. Again, look at all these larvae not being used. And he's about to go into the red because he doesn't have enough overlords. This is another key thing. These stalkers took out the overlords that were sitting around here. If those overlords had been over here, or down here, or somewhere over here in the abyss, they wouldn't have died. They would have been providing more scouting information. But even if they'd been here when an attack came, moving them out of combat, out of harm's way, probably a good idea. Just as important as moving those drones. And you see he moved them back into his base. And he's really in a weak position here. He just doesn't have enough harvesters. He's not getting enough income. Meanwhile, Red has sort of done an all-in. He hasn't built a single harvester in a long time. But because he had this high number of harvesters to begin with, it's working out very well for him. You notice he's completely forgetting to spend his chrono boost. Doesn't really matter. He's getting new troops, but he keeps forgetting to send them into combat. And he just has a really powerful force. Blue, bunch of unused larvae. Look at all these unused larvae. God. Oh my god. 18 unused larvae. Really, these larvae could have been drones, zerglings, anything. You notice he's throwing down a roach den. Smart against a very zealot heavy force, which this is. Roaches, really good against zealots that one armor roaches have. Significantly reduced zealot damage because they have 2 attacks. But really bad against stalkers because stalkers do 14 damage. Extra damage, have longer range, are kind of faster than roaches. So, zerglings, great against stalkers. Roaches, which you'll see in a second, great against zealots. This is actually a nice mix if you can micro them properly. And we'll see that in a second. Here we see this. Again, Spinecrawler's attacking these zealots. Why these zealots? Why not these stalkers? They're in range. Just, little micro things. Again, couple zerglings were attacking the zealots. Not a good idea. Not good for a zergling's health to be attacking a zealot. Actually, hold on one second. Let me fix the sound. You see he's kind of looking for an advantage here. We have a bunch of these zerglings. Not good to send them in against zealots. A ton of these larvae here. Could be roaches, could be zerglings, could be anything. Right? You notice something else? 400 unused gas. He's never going to spend all that gas. These 3 drones that are actually on gas production could have been moved back to minerals and could be getting more minerals. And that would actually allow him to build a larger roach army, since he's actually mineral capped to get his roaches right now. You see the reinforcements coming up. This is a bit of a blunder by Tilda here. See these units in the back? They need to be in melee range. These guys, not so much. So you put the melee units behind the range units? That doesn't make a lot of sense. And to all you Protoss players out there, just reorganize this real quick before you send them into battle. Don't send your zealots in behind your stalkers. It's kind of silly. Look how long it takes for them to get around. In fact, he probably could have killed this queen if he had done that. He will eventually kill the queen, but that's not really relevant. Here's another mistake. Again, zerglings, microed to attack these zealots here instead of the stalkers. Meanwhile, these roaches microed to attack the stalkers instead of the zealots. So this is really key. Roaches attack zealots, zerglings, and they're all dead, attack stalkers. Would have helped out so much. Also, look how long this range is for these spine crawlers. If this spine crawler had been up here instead of way back here, it could have been helping out this whole time. God, even here, even when he pulls all the way back, he still sends in the zerglings first. So by now you sort of realize this is a hopeless battle and he's not going to win, which is unfortunate. But let's re-examine the things he messed up. First of all this gas could have pulled these 3 guys out. Would have been able to produce a lot more zerglings, a lot more roaches. Fine. Next up, could have scouted better. Could have seen this. Could have, checked out some other pain points. Could have seen down here. Fine. Finally, could have built more drones. Could have had a much better economy. And could have had an army that actually would have been able to repel this attack. And if he'd repelled it back when they attacked his expansion, all of a sudden he would have been in a very nice position, and Red would have been playing catch-up. So, number 1, a little better micro. Number 2, better scouting. But even if you don't get number 1 and number 2, the most important thing is number 3, better economy. Build drones. I can't stress this enough. Until I don't build a fighting unit, usually until I have about 23 drones. Somewhere in that range is when I start building my first zergling. And even then, I'm only using it for scouting. You really, really need more drones. That's what makes that fast expansion so effective, and that's what allows you to produce a big army and allows you to counter this kind of stuff. Well, I hope that was helpful for everyone. And now I'm going to see if I can upload this to YouTube. Have fun.